Guys, thanks for watching. Today I'm going to quickly go over the 4 strategies that I use to generate leads and referrals for my business. Now, once again, these are not the be-all and end-all strategies. They are what I use, and I found them quite useful, but feel free to tweak them, also adjust things ever so slightly. And yeah, just kind of like maybe take inspiration from what I do. And also feel free to tell me if I'm wrong, because I'm sure I am. And I want to learn as well. Now, I make these videos for a few reasons. Just straight off the bat, I make them as a way to look back on where I was as an agency owner 5 years down the road. And then I also make them just to kind of provide you guys with a bit of insight as to where I'm going, and hopefully you can learn some things. And then also for my vanity, I want to generate a little bit of a following down the road as like a business person. And full transparency, that's what I'm doing right now. So guys, let's get into it. Now, one of the strategies that I actually use as an agency, and this is quite unconventional, but I use Fiverr. I've actually set up a gig on Fiverr that is very low in terms of the service prices that I typically offer. So as an agency, most of my services range from $1,000 all the way up to $5,000. But within Fiverr, I actually have a process that essentially gets people on the phone and gets them into a meeting with me, and I actually charge them for that. So I have a gig set up in Fiverr that revolves around me providing consultation on their account. Essentially, what it is me doing a quick audit of their account to see if they're a qualified lead for my business to then sell them additional services. So what I do is I say, hey, for 20 bucks, $5, $10, whatever, in my case it's actually $20, I'll jump into your account, see if there's things that can be improved, and then jump on a call with you and run you through those improvements. And what that actually turns into is me generating that call or switching that call into a sales call. So I actually have all the pain points in their business, and then I say, these are what they are, this is how you can fix them, and we can do it for you for this price. So not only am I generating a lead, but I'm getting paid for that lead, which is pretty rare, I think. Now, don't get me wrong, you do get some like trash on Fiverr, because the reality is it's low budget, right? They're not looking to spend a lot of money. If you're on Fiverr, you're probably on the low end of your budget scale. You're looking for a quick, cheap job, which is not something I do, but occasionally you get a really good lead. And I've actually had about 3 or 4 leads come in from there that are willing to spend big chunks of money. I mean, the biggest lead that I had come through, unfortunately, didn't seal it, but they were willing to spend $20,000 US on getting a custom integration set up between Klaviyo and between their CMS. And the reality is they didn't actually know they needed that, and they needed me to go and tell them that that's exactly what they needed, which it was, and I charged them for that. That's just a classic example of the lead generation process in there. The second thing that I actually use is cold video email outreach. And this is actually one of the most effective forms of outreach and lead generation that I do. So it's really just your classic cold email outreach. What I do is I have a sequence of 4 different emails. I'm split testing subject lines, and I actually join, since I'm an email marketing agency, I join every single one of my leads' newsletters on their website. It takes a lot of time. It's a pain in the ass. I'll make a custom video just on like how I actually do this, not custom, but dedicated video on how I actually do this later on. But basically I join every single one of their mailing lists. I see the emails that they send, and then I create a custom Loom video specifically for that potential client and run them through strategies that they can do to improve their email marketing, and then I ask to jump on a phone call with them. And this has been incredibly effective. Like, I've generated excellent response rates. I think my open rates are sitting at about 75%, which is really high. Click rates at 33%, and then response rates at 20%. Now, I've sent about 383 of those emails. Took me hours to film all those videos, hours, but it's paid off, right? Because I'm in the early days with my agency, I have a surplus of time, right? So I can really invest that time in generating leads. Now down the road, that's gonna change, right? I'm not gonna have a lot of time. I'm gonna have a surplus of probably cash, and I'll circle that cash or cycle that cash into an advertising funnel or something like that. But that's the most effective form of outreach that I do. And the emails that I send out, the sequence, I believe it's 4, it might actually be 5, I added an additional one, but it spans 60 days. So first email gets sent, follow-up email 2 days later, another follow-up email 3 days later, and another follow-up email 3 days later again, and then that's 3 days later after the previous email, and then 60 days later, I send one more follow-up email just for perseverance, just to see what happens. And I have yet to see the results of that, but so far, the success of those 4 other emails have been really good. And also, I really advocate for sending a series of emails because the response rates and the responses typically come in on the 2nd and 3rd email. So I really, really recommend doing that. The third method that I use for my outreach is referrals from in-person networking events. I go to a lot of networking events such as B&I groups, just one-off networking events in the city that I live in, and these are incredibly effective. The reason being, I'm able to confidently speak to my agency skills, and I'm also able to convey the type of person I am a lot more so in those in-person meetings than I otherwise would be over like a video or via those emails. Now, they take a load of time and they actually cost me money to invest in. For example, I'm part of a B&I group that cost me roughly $2,000 a year in membership fees, but I recover that cost just from some of the internal work that we get from there. Now, obviously, I don't recommend doing these things if you're doing something like contract or arbitrage with your agency, but if you actually know your stuff, which you should, the reality is you should. I'm not a big fan of contract or arbitrage agencies. You should know what you're selling, and if you do and you can speak confidently to it, highly recommend going to these business networking events. Also, should go without saying, make sure you have a nice website and a business card. Business cards are huge when it comes to these networking events. If you don't have a business card, you could actually just create a cheeky little QR code, put it on the back of your phone, and then have somebody scan it, which links to a sign-up form, and you can reach out to them that way. That's another really effective way to generate leads. But in-person networking is one of the most effective next to that cold email outreach. It's a lot less scalable, but it's a lot more effective in terms of generating good leads. And the reality is these leads are actually already warm because they know you, they trust you, especially if they've been referred onto you from somebody else. Just the power of that referral lends so much weight to the conversation that you end up having with them. So really recommend doing that. Now, lastly, I also use LinkedIn. LinkedIn's really good. I actually haven't really been using it to the fullest extent that I can. The goal this year is to post 3 times a week for the next year. And I'm only about 2 weeks into that journey right now, but feel free to just go ahead and follow me on LinkedIn just to kind of see what I'm doing. Gavin Hewitson, Agency Inbox, that's the agency that I own. And I'm basically just putting out content literally about anything to do with my work, right? Whether it be email, life updates that relate to my work, I put it all out there. And my goal is to generate at least 2,000 connections by the end of the year. And the idea is really just promoting myself to the front of the mind of my potential customers. So how do I do that? Well, obviously I post that content that I was just talking about, I post 3 times a week, but as well as that, I send connection requests to everybody I meet. Any person who responds to one of my cold emails, I send them a connection request. Any person I meet in one of those in-person referral meetings, I send them a request. Any person I meet via the Fiverr leads, I send them a request. Everybody gets a request, just because if they do connect and you do post, you might not even have a conversation in like a year, 2 years, but the moment the conversation in their business comes back around to email marketing, the fact that you've been pushing stuff out and it's just been seen on their LinkedIn feed, you're gonna be at the front of their mind. And they're gonna be like, actually, I do know a guy who uses email marketing and who specializes in email marketing. Now, obviously, I say email marketing because it's my agency's niche. Switch that with Facebook advertising, SEO, pretty much anything, and you have a recipe for success in the long term. Now, my LinkedIn outreach strategy is gonna take, the reality is it's gonna take a while to bear any good results, probably a year, but I'm willing to invest a year just to kind of have that reoccurring lead generation process that comes in organically down the road without any paid advertising, and I'm willing to invest that time now to kind of get there. So those are the 4 methods that I use for my lead generation process. Now, I do use 2 other things. Occasionally I'll jump on Upwork, but I just find the process of submitting proposals on Upwork really tedious. For those of you who don't know, Upwork is a job board. You can submit jobs on there or send proposals for jobs that come up, but I find the process just a pain in the ass. Like, you'll jump on there, it sucks. People are bidding for positions within the proposal process, and unless you're spending money on the platform, as somebody who's looking for work, you can't really bid, right? You've got to bid your connections. You have to buy these things called connections, and it's all a Ponzi scheme. Not really a Ponzi scheme, but it's definitely designed to make the platform money and not actually be the best result for people looking for work. So I don't really dabble too hard in that. And the other form of lead generation that I guess I kind of do is is this, right? YouTube videos. The idea is I'm putting this stuff out into space, and potentially you will come across this video and be like, actually, I have a client that needs email marketing. And you'll come to me because I'm front of mind, right? Right? But if that does sound like you, please shoot me a message. I would love to help you. Also, one other thing I forgot to mention, I also am working on developing strategic partners with people in my space. So, since I'm an email marketer, I tried partnering up with a guy who does social media ads. So he specializes in direct-to-consumer social media ads for brands. That's perfect because we don't tread on each other's toes and we're in this similar business space. So I've tried developing at least 5 of those partnerships. That's my goal for this year at least, whereby we'll be talking to each other, referring each other work, and just developing essentially an ecosystem where one client could come to us with nothing set up yet, and I could provide every single one of those services, either white labeling them or giving them out as referrals. Now, the reality is I want to specialize in just email right now. That's kind of a nice selling point, I think. I say we are an email and SMS marketing agency. That's it. That's all we do, and we do it well. That's a really nice selling point I've found for a lot of potential clients. But you could potentially white label additional services. If you were to say, hey, we're a marketing agency, we do email, Facebook, social media, Instagram, LinkedIn, we do all that stuff. Awesome. You actually would just need to form essentially a collection of agencies to supply all those services through you. It kind of becomes like contractor arbitrage though, and that's why I'm not a huge fan of it. But anyway, those are the 4 main types of outreach that I do, along with those other 2 or 3 little tiddly bits. But I'm definitely down to hear more. And if you have any really good effective strategies that you've used in the past, I'd love to hear about them. The reason I only limit it to those 4 though is just because I can't really afford to spread my eggs. Is that right? Spread my eggs? Put my birds in too many feathers? I don't know. You know what I mean. Put my eggs in too many baskets. Boom, there it is. I can't really afford to do that at the moment, just time-wise, so I just choose to focus on those few aspects, you know? And the reality is, like for example, the BNI networking or the in-person networking event, yes, the main point for that is actually networking, but it's also really good for my mental health because I work from home, I work out of a home office, I need to get out and about and meet people, and I justify the spreading or putting my eggs in too many baskets in that case with that compromise, right? Like the reality is I hear a lot of people say, focus on one method of outreach and that's it. So I could just be focusing on just cold email, but I'm also considering, yes, that might be good for my business, but right now I am my business and I need to look after my mental health. And so the outreach method, or the physical in-person meetings rather, really help that. So it does actually improve the business and it does help me mentally and physically. Anyway guys, short and sweet, I hope that was useful. Any questions, shoot me a message. Otherwise, if you like the video, like and subscribe. It goes a long way towards growing my channel. Anyway guys, thanks for watching. Any questions, shoot me a message. Cheers, bye.